Hello, you guys. We made it to the end of week 4. Congratulations. Every time that I think I cannot be prouder of our school, we do something else that's amazing. The 7th grade reentry this Wednesday went so well. It was smooth, it was calm, it was organized. The kids followed directions. The administrators and all of the support staff had everything taken care of. And the most touching thing that always gets me is that the 7th grade teachers and the connections teachers who are receiving a second wave of kids, despite having fears and nerves and anxieties and concerns, welcomed the kids with open arms and with love and with enthusiasm. You guys know that our kids did not choose the circumstances in which they're living, and neither did you, and yet you've been able to put it all aside to love on them the way that they deserve to be loved. So thank you. That says so much about who you are as a faculty and who the entire staff is at our school. I'm super duper proud to work with you, and I'm actually really happy to see our kids. Thank you for continuing to follow all the safety protocols and training our kids to wear their masks and continuing to train them to keep their distance from one another. And thank you for holding one another accountable for our safety. A couple times this week, I was rubbing a kid on the head or on the back, and Tornice had to say, stop that, and, remind me that this isn't business as usual. And so we need that support from one another, and it just helps keep everybody safe. So thank you for being a team. 8th grade, you're going to be awesome. You are, we'll have all the kinks worked out by then, and you also have the fewest number of kids returning. So next week should be great. And I hope that you're ready for the Tuesday afternoon energy cart with the bell coming down the hall to get you all sugared up and ready to receive your 8th graders. Super excited about the Student of the Month and Teacher and Employee of the Month breakfast tomorrow morning. We've got DeAndre Force, Tara Raymond, Charlene Allison, Melissa Dorsey, Jeff Barfield for the grown-ups, and we've got Joseph Alazar, Yiki Chen, and Brianna Sotelo Estrada representing the kids. We're going to have a breakfast with their families, really small, in the media center, and we have a little gift for them. So make sure that you look for next month's link to nominate people, because we're going to do this every month. And it's one of my favorite things to do is recognize those special wildcats. So that should be a lot of fun tomorrow. Look for some fun pictures. COVID update. Almost every day this week, we had to send home a kid who wasn't feeling well. We've gotten everything from headaches to tummy aches to low fevers. And when that happens, we've been acting really quickly, getting the kids home. And in a couple of the cases, it resulted in another kid or two being quarantined because they were close. And in another case, it resulted in an adult having to be quarantined. So just know that if we did not talk to you, it's because you weren't anywhere near the kiddo. And if we did, it's because we had to. We have yet to have a positive case on our staff or in our student body since we've been back in school, but we've been acting really swiftly and taking every illness seriously. So thank you for your cooperation with that. I will update you every week in this format in the Smore, and if there's something bigger that I need to tell you, then I will, but just know that we are following the protocol to the letter. Carrie, Val, and Tisa have done an amazing job with the health response team following up on all of these situations, and you guys, the teachers, have been awesome at swiftly sending us kids if they're not feeling well. That allows us to keep everyone as safe as possible and removing the sick kiddos or adults from the building as soon as possible. So thank you for that. Couple of things have come up that we need to address. One of them is that when new kids come to school and they're new to Gwinnett, or just new to our school, and they've chosen digital learning, we send them home with this packet of information and then just kind of expect them to log on and get started without having had the onboarding experience that would help them learn eClass and Google Classroom and Zoom and all the platforms that we're using, plus the schedule and the structure of the pages and where the links can be found. And we realize that there is a hole in our process, and you guys are having to answer the same questions over and over from parents. So Beverly, Jen Burley, Angela Jenkins, and Nicole Colbert put together a new student orientation. The first session is next Wednesday. It will happen every Wednesday from 3:30 to 4, and we will invite all of the new registrations in with their families to go through almost like a digital learning 101 or a crash course to orient them to all of the tools that we use. And we hope that this is something that you will see the benefits of, and you'll have fewer confused kids. Also, we know that you're getting a lot of tech questions from your families, and many of them you can answer yourselves, but some of them are kind of above what you can do. So when you start getting parents that can't log in or can't connect or don't know a password for something or are getting some funky message on their machine, we want you to have a place to go to get help. So talk to Jeff Barfield, and he would like to reiterate the importance of the ticket system. Anytime that you need the tech team to do anything, if it's for you, your machine, your classroom, some software, if it's for a face-to-face kiddo, or if it's for a digital learning kiddo, you would do a ticket. So once you have a parent that you cannot help anymore, submit a ticket. And if it's a DLD kid, include the kid's name and the contact information for the parent, either an email or a phone number. Put in that ticket, and Jeff, Harriet, and Jen will go through those, and the appropriate person will reach out to help that family. So this should be a really, really, really helpful way for you to get help for your families once you have exhausted all of the options available to you. Let's start using that immediately. That streamlined method also really helps Jeff keep track of what needs to be done and the order in which it needs to be done, because he gets bombarded with requests, especially on these new transition days, and the ticket system allows him to get to things in a more timely fashion and be super organized about it. And now we get to help the families at home. So hope that helps. Okay. Now it's time to start our brief observation. So next week, you will start getting visits from the administrators for the first brief observation of the semester. Remember that we have 2 briefs in the fall and 2 briefs in the spring. Those are the 10-minute evaluations where we will rate anywhere from 1 to 5 standards. I did one today because the work that I saw was so awesome in a Zoom class that I just had to document it. So that one is already done. But just know that those are going to start next week. And so I want to say this. I've said it a bunch of times, and I'm going to say it again because it's true and you need to believe me. There are only 2 standards of our 10 standards that you can mess up this year. And those are standards 9 and 10. Everything else, this is not the year to stress about. This is not the year to worry about instructional planning or professional knowledge or instructional strategies or differentiation. It's just not. We are going to be extending you an extraordinary amount of grace. You are extending the same amount of grace to us, and I know that you will be extending the same amount of grace to your students and your families. So just rest assured that standards 1 through 8 are not things that you have to stress about right now. Amazingly enough, those are going to be awesome anyway, just by virtue of the fact that you're being forced to think so creatively and do things that you've never had to do and address the needs of 2 different audiences. Those standards are going to take care of themselves, and it's just not something that you need to worry about, and it's not something that you're going to get a low rating on. 9 and 10 are where it's at this year. Professionalism and communication are needed right now in this climate in the world and in our schools more than ever. We have to be at work on time, 8:20 to 4:20. We have to be in our Zooms on time and prepared and ready to go. Our lessons need to be current, and we don't need to be scrambling. We don't need to be posting asynchronous lessons 3 out of the 5 days of the week. Just do what you know that you have to do. Be available to your students, and probably most important of all is to be kind to one another. We're living in a climate where we are at extreme ends of emotionality, and we are not practicing a whole lot of tolerance with each other. And I'm talking about like as a society and certainly within our school district right now. So within our walls of Duluth Middle School, from those walls in, we will be kind, loving, warm, supportive, and respectful of one another. And that is what professionalism will look like for us this year. And it's super duper important. The next one, communication, huge passion of mine. And I talked to you at the beginning of the year about my non-negotiables. My non-negotiables are we love all kids, all with capitals, even the ones that are hard to love. We will teach the AKS, done. We'll teach them at high levels, done. But the third, this is where standard 10 comes in. The third is we will have high expectations of our kids. And the way that communication fits into that is this is the time where we start to lose our kids. Week 4, week 5, week 6, we start to see kids not logging in. We start to see kids not turning in work. We see kids who are disengaged, camera off, doing God knows what behind that black screen. And we start to see kids struggle. So we have the will nots who are just going to kind of quit doing, and then we have the can nots who are really struggling with concepts and need a lot of help. This is the moment where we change the trajectory of kids' lives. And when I talk about that non-negotiable of mine about high expectations, this is where it starts to come to life. We cannot allow our kids to just decide if they're going to care, if they're going to engage, if they're going to show up, if they're going to participate. We have never, I don't think, allowed 11, 12, 13-year-old kids to make decisions about big things in their life because they're 11, 12, and 13. So their engagement in school is the same exact thing. We do not just allow them to decide that they're going to try or that they're going to care or that they're going to engage. We expect them to, we train them to, and when they don't, we go after them in the kindest and most loving way. The same way that you guys are telling them to stand 6 feet apart, the same way that you guys are telling them to pull up their masks, the same way you're telling them to put on their lanyards, that's the same expectation that you're going to hold them to in terms of their academic effort. So communication comes into play because now is when we're going to start reaching out and getting hold of those parents and saying, hey, I've noticed 4 zeros, or I've noticed that Johnny's had his screen turned off a lot lately, or he hasn't been to my last 3 Zooms. What's up? Start getting those parents in for 820 parent conferences now to alert them early to what's going on and to engage them to be part of the team that expects the most of their kids. We cannot let them get too far behind because, number one, they get the message that they get to just quit on us, which is not the message we're going to send. And number two, sometimes it gets too late for us to help, and that's a tragedy that we can avoid. So this is one of those things that I am extremely passionate about. And when I talk about persistent and relentless outreach, this is the time when it starts to really, really matter. The novelty is wearing off, and now we need to go find our kids and expect them to be as awesome as they are, because they are all brilliant. They all can, they all will, and we will be there to support them every step of the way. So communication is definitely one that we are going to focus on. 9 and 10, that's it. That's all I ask of you this year, is to give me your all with 9 and 10, and the rest, don't stress about. We get to change kids' lives with those two, and I'm excited to start that work with you. So let us help you. Let us contact parents for you. Let us sit in on conferences with you via Zoom, via Microsoft Teams, and let's start doing the outreach that's going to show our kids that we are not going to let them give up on themselves. I was in a Zoom today, and this teacher was like, well, what about you? And what about you? And what about you? And do you get it? And what's your answer? And what about you? And she went around her entire grid on her Zoom class and made sure that every single kid in that grid was with her and understood, and nobody was allowed to fly under the radar. It was a beautiful sight to see. That teacher was not about to lose the war of the wills. She was winning the war of the wills, and she was communicating to her kids that she cared enough to not let them just sit it out. And I really appreciate that. So I'm excited to jump all over this work with you. It's not easy. but man, it's gratifying. So let us help you. Thank you for being amazing. Please unwind this weekend. Please disconnect. Enjoy your extra day off, and let me and the administrative team know at any time what we can do to support you. Thank you and have a great weekend.